Today is the 13th of January 2023, and it's a very dull day for me. It's a very dull day. Early this year, I made, especially from the 1st of January, even before the 1st of January, I made some decisions and I told myself I would try to work on myself. I figured out that there are a lot of things I wanted to achieve that I wasn't able to achieve, kept procrastinating, and I don't know, distracted. And I made a vow I would work on myself this year, 2023. I'll be a billionaire. And I don't, it's funny now, know how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna be a billionaire in dollars. And I knew I had to work on myself. And I knew the version of me, the previous version of me, I don't like it. There are a lot of things I don't like. There are a lot of things I disagree with. I've been trying to see how I can fix. I've not just been very happy. There are moments I would feel bad. I'm alone, isolated, shouting, blaming. I was having this inner battle. Before the year ended, 2022, November precisely, I went to Ibadan. I got a couple of books and I went on this book spree where I would sit. I had this very close friend of mine, a classmate, so I stayed over at that place and I was reading and reading. And towards the evening, I would spend time, move around, walk a bit, and I would try to understand what's really the problem. Why am I not really achieving a whole lot? What is getting me stuck? That the same thing I tell myself I would do today, I don't end up doing it, and then tell myself I would do it tomorrow. The procrastination. What am I holding on? Why am I not happy? I figured out I was emotionally unstable. So one of the first things I did was to start getting to make sure I read emotional book. I set it up with a book. I don't know if it's here. It's not here. It's a book called Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman. And I started reading more and more books. And then I finally went back, Lagos, then Abuja, and I discovered I was able to really, understand that emotion plays a whole role, and your emotion is just your perception of the things you've learned. Now, ending of the year, December, I had sat down to realize how, because I was emotionally unstable, because sometimes I'm angry, I'm upset, I'm having enthusiasm to work, I'm losing interest. I had not achieved a whole lot just because of that emotional instability. And I started focusing on it. And then I moved over early this year. I discovered I was holding so much to the past. And I told myself I had to figure out a way. And I started getting to understand that holding on to the past, it's it's something that I learned from my environment. And if I would want to achieve my dreams, I would learn to think forward. I would learn to see the future. I would learn to understand that people make mistakes and you should let it go. And this whole journey has given me a series of roller coaster. And this evening, 13th of January 2023, I discovered the major reason I've not achieved a whole lot. You could be having the same issues, and I figured out the whole solution. The first thing I learned is association. There is this very powerful proverb that says, the people around you defines you, and if you show me your friend, I'll tell you who you are. I've had lots of wrong associations growing up in my life. I accumulated lots of people whom at points I figured out that they were not looking out well for me, or they had never had me in their interest. I was basically forcing myself to the wrong circles. Then I stopped having people in the wrong circles, started having leechers in the wrong circles. I basically had people around me who reinforced a very negative thought and lifestyle on me. I mean, people who would hurt you and repeatedly hurt you and make you question your trust and self, and then people who would make you keep on going back to the past because they hurt you one way, you got over it, the mark was still there, and they hurt you again and again and again, and made you keep on looking back at the past to compare the pains and the wounds And then they somehow molded me into somebody who would, to the past. Association, getting to meet people who would constantly want to talk you down or constantly make you feel less or constantly want you not to talk much about what you have achieved because they haven't. I had low association of people, and so they were not in any way influencing me to do better, letting me do better, helping me do better. And now the second thing I learned is that you cannot achieve it alone. I did not really learn this, or I've known this. I've always heard about it, that you can't do things alone and you need people to help you. The problem with letting people help you for me was, like I said before, association. I had associated myself with lots of people who were not, you know, having the best of interest for me. For instance, while growing up, I had lots of startup, small softwares I would write, and I would have friends, programmers like me, who would want to steal my code. There was a point I allowed some programmers, people to work with me on rain apps, and I knew how my moderators turned down the whole platform down. I'd worked with people on numerous occasions and I was backstabbed. And so even though I had seen you have to work with people on numerous places, on numerous books, I did not buy into it. And so that was one of the biggest reasons I had not gone far or farther than I should. But last year, I got working with lots of teams, better people, and I really got understood that if I had worked with the right team at the beginning, I would have been able to actualize virtually all my dreams, or at least close to my dreams. Sometimes there's some things you wish you could go back to change, but it's not possible. So the lessons have been learned, and I move. The third one, after learning association and learning that you need a team, I also learned a very bitter painful one, letting go of the past. And I discovered that you're not really happy when you do not look forward. You cannot really move forward looking down. You cannot climb a ladder. You cannot climb the stairs. You cannot climb a tree. You cannot do virtually anything continuously, consistently well if you keep looking down. And when you keep holding on to the past, it robs you of the present and the future. I had a very big problem with looking back at what people have done and apologized. And that particular attitude of holding on to the past affected me so badly that I lost some very very big opportunities. One of these opportunities was 2016 to 17. I had a website, Land Ninja, doing extremely well. I had realtors from all over Nigeria posting their properties. The site was one of the number one websites where people post anything that have to do with landed properties in the whole of Nigeria. I was a very big name, Land Ninja, and it went well. 2018, I had, forgotten to host the renew my hosting, and I think then I was having. I thought I can't really recall, but I couldn't do the what's it called again, renewal. Now, I was sent notifications and I didn't even get to remember. Now, I formatted my system and I lost the files, which is the whole files on the Land project. My whole computer, I had no backup. Then I wasn't even a backup person. And then I was trying to, gain back access. Now, I lost access to the sites and I lost the hosting. I didn't even record the hosting. The only luck I had was I bought the domain from name.com and I was hosting with Hostinja. Now the whole files on Land Nigeria dropped. All the properties people had posted for years dropped. Um, there was no way to recover the whole this thing. I was not using GitHub then. GitHub wasn't a thing for me then. If I had anything that has to do with posting your code on any place, I was against it because, like I said, I had my softwares, my scripts stolen numerous times while growing up as a software programmer. So it's just funny. I had trust issues with GitHub. I don't want to hear anything that has to do with collaboration. I've always been a selfish coder, and so I lost the whole file, and the Land Ninja project took me a year plus to code. I had written lots of softwares, I'd written lots of scripts, and everything went. I couldn't renew the hosting. I had no access to the hosting account again because I created it like a whole different email. Now, my domain, I could easily change the domain to some other. I could easily change the domain to some other hosting, to point to some other hosting platform and host it. But now, since I don't really have access to Land Ninja, I couldn't start creating Land Ninja again. And then, maybe like I now host with Digital Ocean or HostGator. So now I could simply just, point the domain somewhere, upload the files because I couldn't access that hosting job. But now, because I mean, I don't even have any file. My computer then just got corrupted. I flashed my drive. I lost the whole thing. I was tensed. That 2018, Land Niger had gone down. There was no way for me to upload. I don't have access to the hosting platform. Like, it was suspended. I was being told to pay. Like, everything was crazy. It was fucked up. 2018, I couldn't code a new version of Land Ninja. I was angry at the fact that I had lost the file. I couldn't forgive myself for creating that some awesome project, and it went bad. And I was constantly telling myself, why didn't you back up? Why didn't you have this? You should have kept it on Google Drive, this, da da da. And Kalanja went down. I think the only reason why I was lucky, even Renaps would have gone down because I was hosting all of them on hosting chat. The only reason why Renaps did not go down was I had Renaps on a flash then, because Renaps was like a full-time project. La Ninja was just something I created for Relators, and I had lost that with so many others, website I was, hosting them. I did not go back to the Land Ninja project out of sentiment, out of the fact that I hated, and I hated the fact that I had, not renewed subscription, and I had not, had a backup for 218, 219, 220, 221, and it was 222 last year. Ending that I got to understand that it was the anger that had made me sure that an autumn platform, maybe if I had come back, I would have done better. Maybe if I had forgiven myself for the past, I would have been able to start up a newer site. And funny enough, there are also lots of projects that or things people did that I have looked on, and I don't want to make a new move. Like, so I can remember people who did stuff that now I would have been able to work with them, would have been able to take me to greater heights. But because of something they did to the past, I was looking back at, I couldn't let go of, and it robbed me from the goodness it would have given me in the present. So I told myself I'll actively work on letting go. But it's how very funny how the whole solution starts from the first thing I said. Association. The people I was associated with were the ones who made me hold on to the past. They would continuously give me reasons to go back and say, you did this thing last time. I tell you, may not do them. You do them last time. You don't do them today. You did it. Those people would always keep making me talk over and over again. Now, if I had stayed with people who, were honorable, if they said, I'm sorry, I won't do this again, it doesn't repeat, I would have had no reason to start reminding them of the last time I told them not to do something. I would have had no reasons to keep on holding on to the past. And now, if I had also had a team of people I would work with, I would have done better. So I discovered that this issue of holding on to the past, I would change it by changing the kind of people I come close to. The fourth one, which is the one that still keeps me in shock, I didn't even figure it out till a few hours from now. This is prime focus. I love reading and I like reading often, and I I do it because I feel that that's the only way you get to talk to people whom you wouldn't have been able to talk to. Right now, I can make a video recording like this, put it on YouTube. 10 years from now, 40 years from now, if I'm gone, if you want to communicate with me, you would have to watch these videos and say, that was dannyokec. 50 years from now, this is him imparting some wisdom to me. But years ago, it used to be books. So books were where the good minds, the big minds share their ideas. So yeah, I love reading because that's how I get to learn from some good minds. And while I was reading, I understood the power of where you're living. You could be alive, but we all live in moments, even while being present. You could be living in three phases. You could be living in the past, you could be living in the present, or you could be living in the future. Now, the easiest way to achieve anything is to live in the future. My biggest problem has been scheduled. I've been shuffling between living in the past and living in the present. I want to focus on what I want this present. I can feel the sweet, the sugar in my throat. Oh, I feel like having a champagne. Oh, I feel like hanging out with this person. Oh, I feel like having this. Oh, I feel like having that. And the real truth is, they tell you you should live for the moment. But I've actually understood that you don't even live for the moment. I've understood that you live for the future. And it's really very funny. But I will try to explain. Now, when you live for the moment really takes you to wherever the wind is blowing. The moment is you being in the sea, being in the ocean, on a boat, and then the wave, the breeze blows you wherever the moment is. The moment is now I'm living, I want to go and I want to do this like I'm living right now, and I'm not thinking about anything. Now, the problem with letting the wind blow the ship is it will take it to both where it will want to and where it will not want to go. And then the funny thing is, it will blow it to a destination that might not really be the destination of the occupant of the ship. So, if you really want a prescribed destination, it simply means you would no longer go with the motion, you would sail to your motion. So then I understood that I was living in the moment. I would want to do things that suit me now, things I feel like doing, money, lots of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars in the account. You're doing well. You have every single thing you want. Just live your whole life. Now, the moment you're focused on the moment, you lose it. Because the funny thing about life is progressing. You only get ahead of life when you think ahead of the present, which is ahead of this current time. And so when you focus on this current time, I mean it's more like you put a little stop. You're now anywhere the winds take you to. I discovered that I should have lived a life where I get to focus so much on what I would want to achieve. I'm talking about constantly picture out years from now and look back and try to see what I would be and try to look into the eyes of what I would be to advise myself. So, for instance, I want to be one of the wealthiest black men. I want to have achieved a whole lot of material wealth. It's something I've always wanted to, right from a child. I want to be able to have the biggest orphanage because the material wealth what is it called again? Accumulate would obviously be for me. I would leave those before I leave the earth, but I want to have enough to be able to be charitable, to assist as many as possible, to make greater good to the world before I can leave. Now, these are my dreams, and you can be charitable, you can help people, you can do good with that money. So, yes, I want to be so wealthy that I'll be able to do this with happiness, and joy. Now, this is my big dream. This is what I would want to achieve. And this is what I would want for myself, right? Now, if I'm focused on this future, the next thing I will start thinking of is how can I achieve, this position? Like, what will I do? At the moment I'm thinking of that constant future, I'm coming up with, I will call that a route. And I remember I told you, you could actually live your life for as the moment leads, or you could sail to where you want. So now the moment you're focused on what you would be, just like you're in the ship, now you imagine you're in a boat, you're looking right now at the destination, or want to get to Mexico, that is that place you're seeing that stuff here, that is Mexico, let's go there. Now you're sailing towards that direction, right? Now you can see that you're not going as the wind blows, you now have a particular place. Yes, that was what I lacked in my life, that particular focus, that this is what I want to achieve. Now, how do I start getting there? I was basically just living a life where I feel I want to be rich, so I want to make money. Okay, fine. I get jobs, do gigs, so I just want to live a good life, fine. But I wasn't really focused on the ultimate, like years and years from now. And I wasn't really thinking about future from now. If I'm a billionaire, how will I be advising myself now? So I was living a life of the present. And sometimes I go back to live in the past. And this year, I've really learned that it should be the other way around. It should be you living in the future and sometimes in the present. And why? When you start thinking of living in the future, you start getting afraid of certain, or you start getting, um, what's it called again? You start um, getting consideration, or you start thinking smartly on the decisions you make. Now, if you're somebody who really thinks, for instance, so much on um, building a life, a good life for yourself, you know, if you're somebody who would want to get old, for instance, now you're thinking of getting old, you can now constantly start thinking of the diet, the food you would eat, how you would work out, the things you would do to get you to that, you know, healthy life. So the moment you start putting in mind that this is what you want, it builds it up. So for me right now, it is nothing more but changing the cycle. Like I said, getting to meet different people, get to meet different people, get to work with a better team, let go of the past. It robs you of the future. It should be the other way around. You thinking more of the present and more of the future, less of the present. When you're thinking more of the future, so right, I did read. When you're thinking more of the future, your current actions become um, calculated. You get to over calculate things before you do things. You wouldn't want to do certain things because they might affect you later. Just like someone telling you, I wouldn't want to be found in any scandal because I feel years from now might, or I have political ambitions or I feel I have political dreams. I wouldn't want to do anything that would make me an ex-convict. Or, oh, I want to live this kind of life. Oh, I'm going to be, what's it called again, an Anthony someday. So I wouldn't want to do this so it doesn't affect my career somewhat. So the moment you start thinking about the future often, you start getting cautious of the actions you take. The moment you live often for the moment, you make wrong decisions. So I've learned now that I look into the future, what I want to achieve, and then which is the third one, which is the last one, the fifth one, I also want to say, which is talking about getting to look into the future, is having made it